welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. If you are new, my name is Autumn. I was formerly an elementary teacher and now I homeschool my two girls, Alani, who will be going into second grade this upcoming school year, and Emmy, who will be going into kindergarten. So I have already finished year one of Pinwheels with my oldest daughter. She is currently finishing up year two. I will be using year one with my youngest, and toward the end of the video I will talk a little bit more about that because Pinwheels just released some really big news. But I wanted to do this review, especially since I'm prepping the stuff right now for my youngest, and I didn't do this while this was fresh in my head, but I feel like the prep is kind of helping. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what our thoughts were with Pinwheels, things I changed, things I liked or didn't like, and what my thoughts are going into using it with my youngest. So first off, I did not start kindergarten with Pinwheels. I had started off with Dash into Learning and figured I would do some activities and stuff like that, but I just found that program wasn't really explicit enough for what my daughter needed. So then I was looking for something, and I had heard about Pinwheels through the Brave Writer podcast. I absolutely love listening to that podcast. And Rita, who's one of the creators of Pinwheels, was on it. And I had not realized that Juan was actually a part of Brave Writer in the beginning. So I learned so much and had so much interest. I wanted a curriculum that was gentle, but also was explicitly teaching the phonics skills and had all of the language arts components. So Pinwheels has handwriting, it has grammar, it has writing, it has reading, it just has so many different things, not just phonics. And that really stood out to me. That was something I wasn't seeing as much with the other things I was looking at. So this is just something that I thought would really work well for our family, and it has. The biggest negative I would say is it is a lot of prep, and if you don't have the time, you don't have the time. So if you are looking for something that is open and go, this is definitely not it. But my thought was I would be using it with my oldest and using it with my youngest. So once I did the prep once, there really wouldn't be as much the second time. So that was my thought with going with this. And honestly, I didn't find the prep to be that big of a deal. It's definitely not something you're getting done in a half hour, but it just spread out really wasn't that big of a deal for me personally. One of the things I was most excited about with this program is the LA binder. I love the idea of the student being able to kind of just see what they have done and look for information on their own. Obviously I'm there, but just to have this reference of different things. And again, I liked the idea of it, but I will say this isn't something that my daughter really enjoyed referencing. So you made different sheets for different skills. It was kind of as if you had all of these posters that might be hanging up on your wall, but instead they are in this binder. So this one is names always begin with a capital letter. And then she wrote her name, she wrote her sister's name. So stuff like that. All of these skills that she's learning, if there's something they are able to write down so that they can reference it, it does go in this binder. And at the end of each lesson, it tells you what you should add to the binder. We somewhat kept up with this, somewhat didn't. There are definitely some things that are not in here. I was really good in the beginning, and then as time went on, it kind of was just, we were able to kind of pick and choose what really was worth it to go in here. But the nice thing is we can continue to use this for Wand. So she has been adding to it. Again, we didn't completely abandon it, but she has been adding to it and will continue to add to it with Wand. So outside of the podcast, when I was looking more into Pinwheels, that is one thing that really stood out to me that I thought was very different from other curricula that I'd looked at. And then another thing that really stood out to me was the online community. So I only use Facebook for homeschool stuff. And so there are a few different pages that I follow, and the Rooted in Language community has been so great. You can post any questions you have, and there are so many people who are willing to answer them. The people who created the curriculum are answering the questions. They have office hours where you can speak directly to them. So I've not used those office hours or anything like that, but there's just a lot of ways to get in touch. And another thing I really loved is I love to learn about all of this stuff. So every lesson really goes into the why. Why are they learning this? What is the history behind this word at times? Like, there's just a lot of information. So even though I have an education background, I learned a lot as I was teaching Alani. And one thing I think that people don't actually realize is there are a lot of games within this Pinwheels curriculum. Like, there are lots of different things. There's the flip book game where they're rolling the die and they're flipping these up, and then it shows just different phonograms and they have to read them, practicing their blending skills. We've played bingo. There's the SWAT game with the bugs. There's lots of different games in this. And that's one thing I really don't think people realize. There is a lot of play. And yes, you have to set up to be able to do that play. But that is one of the things that they really wanted to be part of this curriculum, is the hands-on stuff. Now, speaking of hands-on, I am going to talk about the letter tiles. Now, I didn't end up using the letter tiles. I didn't cut them out and do all of that. I have other things that we use. But if you don't want to cut all of them out, Treasures from Jennifer does actually have all of the letter tiles, and you're able to get them that way, whether you get them new or you get them through like a resale. So that's actually really cool. But what we ended up doing, I already had this letter board. So when I was teaching, we used foundations, and I really liked these magnetic boards. So I ended up buying one for my daughter, and these are not the same. Like, some of the phonograms that they do in foundations are not the same as what we are learning in Pinwheels. So there are some things I use, some things I don't. But I have enjoyed using these, and Alani has enjoyed using these. So sometimes this is what we are using, and this isn't what we used in the beginning. In the beginning, when we were just doing CV, VC, and CVC, we just used these, and they all just have one letter on them. So again, that was super easy to use in the beginning. But once you are getting to a point where the letter tile is supposed to have CK on it, obviously I couldn't use these. And then the other thing that I have, which I have shown before, but it is all of these letter tiles as well. So I had plenty of different ways for Alani to spell out words, and I liked having these as well because you can actually just like feel the shape of the letter, whereas the tiles, it's just a square and you're seeing it. So it's sometimes fun to use these as well. So those weren't part of what I was supposed to be using with Pinwheels, but I found those to be helpful and I already had them. All right, so I am going to turn this camera around so I can just show you what it kind of looks like in the educator guide, in the student workbook. I don't normally print out the educator guide. For me, I find it easier to just have it on my computer or my tablet, and I print out the workbook pages. But for this, I did print it out so that you can just see what it looks like. All right, so this is right off of the scope and sequence, which is available on the website. But just a few of the things that it covers are listed within each of the sections. So within phonics, spelling, handwriting, word study, so a lot of the base word suffixes, and as I said before, word history. So my daughter had put together a whole book of information about the word one or the word color. So they just have different activities to do when it comes to learning about the history of a word, why it's spelled a certain way, which is really cool. There's grammar and mechanics and reading and writing. So again, this is right off the scope and sequence on the website. If you want to look more into that, you can. And then this is my own printed unit. I just print off some of the pages, but these pages are available within the scope and sequence. This sample unit is available if you download it. So this is jumping into Unit 9. I do want to show you, I have Unit 1 somewhere. Okay, it's actually Unit 2. So I'm going to show you kind of how it starts, but all of the units have this where it discusses what they're going to learn. There is a checklist of things you're going to do. You do not have to follow like this exact schedule. If you don't get through all of this on day one, then you just continue at another time. But this is kind of just a suggested schedule. Daily review, you're supposed to be reviewing and practicing the previously taught concepts. And then each section has a what you need and a why you teach, which is so cool. So the what you need, obviously important, so you know how to prepare. And if you wanted to print just one unit at a time, they do have that option. You can download the file one unit at a time and everything you need from that unit, because as you can see, you need the things from the workbook, you need things from the reading kit, you need things from the appendix. All of these are different folders. So if you wanted to print one unit at a time, all of the things that you need for that unit are within the same file. So that's really helpful if you want to do one unit at a time. But I really like the Why You Teach. It explains exactly the importance of what they are learning. So for this unit, they're learning lowercase and capital P. So again, those areas are really cool. I like that they include that. And that is for each of the units. So when you get into it, this is unit 9, but I just wanted to show in the beginning with unit 2, you're starting off really simple. They're forming the letter I, they're learning about the letter I. I showed that a bit in a previous video. I like that they go over the actual formation, but they keep it simple. Some of the things you can find more like songs or rhymes or different kinds of things like that. If that works for your child, great. But I do like that this is just very simple. And then with the letter I, they are saying the sounds as they are writing it here. So each letter has a sound. Practice writing this letter and saying the short I sound as you write, and then they get to do a picture. And then on this side, this is considered the actual handwriting. So you have the lines here, and when they're practicing for handwriting, they are saying the letter name. So there is a distinction in that within this curriculum, but I just wanted to show how it kind of starts off real quick. And I just have this covered up because there's a QR code for the video. But it is very simple in the beginning, and I feel like it builds. So I am going to show 9, but I wanted to make sure I just showed that it does start off pretty simple, and you get used to it before you get into all of the things you're going to see in unit 9. So in this unit, one of the things they talk about is sound siblings. So with the letters P and B, the sounds they make are similar. And I like that they point that out. They point it out so that it is not confusing for the student when they are learning these letters. They talk about how the sound the letter P makes is more of a unvoiced sound, like it's more of a breathy sound, whereas the letter B, if you put your hand up to your throat, you can feel the sound that the letter B is making. I really like that this is written by experts in the field. They have so much knowledge and they share that with you. It is clear throughout the curriculum. But this is an example of something that would go into the language arts binder. So you would make this poster and you would be putting the post-it notes for the sound siblings right in here, and then you add to it as you go on, because these are not the only sound siblings that the student would be learning about. Another thing that's really cool is every once in a while there's a party. So for this, it says, you read your 3rd book, now let's celebrate, add your new title to your bookworm. So you're keeping track of the books you're reading, just really fun and engaging ways to celebrate the learning that your child is doing. And I didn't print out all the pages, I just printed out a few because I normally don't print out the educator guide. But at the end, it always tells you what you are putting into your LA binder. So that's what you would be going through. And then these are just some of the pages for the student. They would be blending the sounds together on this page. So p, pa, p, and pa. And this graying is purposeful because they are tracing here. Here's another page where they would be writing the beginning sound. There's one with the beginning sound, one with the middle sound, one with the ending sound. I just didn't print them all out. And then there's actually a blank one too when they're writing all of the sounds. And I like that it includes copy work as well. This is the one page and this is the other page. And all of the copy work comes from the book that they're reading. I don't have the book with me right now, but there is a book that you print out and you assemble. It's called A Mom. So the copy work that they're doing comes directly from the book that is explicitly working on the phonics skills from that unit and previous units. So that is a quick look inside of the curriculum, but everything that I showed minus what I showed in unit 2 is available online. You can look through all of that yourself. Well, I should say is available online for now, because that is actually the big news that I wanted to discuss in this video. they have made the announcement that they will be closing shop. I did not see this coming. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I was super excited because they announced that they were working on Pinwheels year 3. I was really excited. I was hoping that it would be done in time for me to use it with Alani. I was really hesitant to use wand. I have the teaching background to use it, so I'm not doing the foundations course. I think I should be fine without it. But I kind of was going back and forth on whether or not I wanted to use wand since I didn't want to use the foundations course as well. I did end up purchasing wand and I do still plan to use it, but I had been really excited to be able to use Pinwheels year 3 with Emmy, because the thing is, wand completes the code. So Alani has done year 1, year 2, and wand should wrap up everything, and then from there she doesn't really need like those phonics skills. But with Emmy, she's just starting out, and I now know that there's no Pinwheels 3, and that is really what I wanted. Who knows, maybe things will change once I use wand for Alani and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did this. This is the best thing ever. But I was just really excited to have something in the form of Pinwheels where I already know exactly what I'm doing. I know the flow. I was happy to be able to do that with Emmy. So with that announcement, actually, I guess I can read a little bit of what they said. After careful consideration, we've made the difficult decision to wind down our business with final closure effective July 15th, 2026. And they did announce that with that, they are not going to be releasing Pinwheels year 3. So I'm still planning on starting Pinwheels with Emmy. I've already prepped so much stuff, but now I'm just like, do I do Pinwheels year 1, Pinwheels year 2, and wand, or do I kind of do something else? I don't know. I still also don't know if I'm doing 2 years of kindergarten with Emmy. That's kind of the thought. She is a young kindergartner. She's not even going to be 5 until November. So this is kind of like getting her feet wet. So, I mean, I do have time to figure things out, but I just wasn't expecting that. It came at such a time where I've already made so many curriculum decisions. So yeah, that really threw me for a loop, and we'll see. We'll just see how it goes because I really love this curriculum. But again, I was really excited for Pinwheels year 3. I hope this review was helpful. I held off for a while on making this just because I was making other videos, and now here we are, and they're gonna not be making this curriculum anymore. So, I mean, I guess it's helpful because now you have this information. I'll make sure to link the scope and sequence and sample in my description. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. It really means a lot. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.